This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Well, afternoon by now. It is Tuesday on the Joe Gaither Show, right here on the BamaCentral YouTube channel, on the BamaCentral Facebook page. I hope you and yours are doing well. I am not in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios because we just got off the practice field from right here. I'm sitting down in Coleman Coliseum, just across the street from the Malmore Athletic Facility, right next to the Alabama practice facility. So we just got off the practice field, watching about 10 minutes of practice. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to take a voicemail on the spring scrimmages. Everett, we've got your voicemail. We're going to have Katie join us tomorrow to talk about your topics. But we're going to talk about the spring scrimmage with Dax today, and then finish up with the transfer portal, as Alabama basketball was still active in the portal yesterday after our episode ended with Theo Fernandez. We're going to do all that with our friend Theo. So visit Theo Fernandez at Theo Fernandez __ on the Twitter machine. Myself at Joe Gaither 6 at BamaCentral. That's going to be the plan for the day. Theo, sorry for all the curveballs this morning. How are you? You looking good? You having a good day? How's life? What's going on with Theo?
Good. No practice viewing for me, like you said, but a lot going on today. We'll be covering baseball later, but obviously all our focus is on football right now.
Yeah, all our focus is on football, and so we do want to get right into what we saw because we're going to go right back over to the facility to talk to a select number of players here in just a little bit. But I spent about 8 minutes over with the offensive line, the outside linebackers, and the Wolves. The Wolves and Bandits came into my view just a little bit towards the middle part of that, but we got 10 minutes, beautiful day of practice. It's the 11th day of practice, the last week of spring practice. And Theo, you know how it is at practice. It's just a few minutes. So I just have a few takeaways from our time out there. Let's get right into them because I spent my time with the offensive line, and they had basically a bunch of individual drills. They're running under the chute. They're kind of all getting set up individually in the chute. So it wasn't really a true starting five look out there, but it did look like Jackson Lloyd and Rayson Delgatti were leading the group through the drills. But a couple of guys really kind of stood out to me as impressive, and I want to start with Nick Brooks. We went to him, or we talked about him just a little bit yesterday because of him playing right tackle in the second spring scrimmage. He played left guard in the first spring scrimmage, transferred in from Texas, and I tell you, he's sitting here listed at 6'7", 339, and he looked every bit of it and played extremely violently with his hands. I thought that Nick Brooks looked like a football player who was taking earlier reps in the line. I mean, obviously it's hard to tell what's going on all the time, and we're only out there for a couple of minutes, but and he played with violence that this offensive line is really looking for, moving his counterpart expeditiously every single time that he was up to take a rep, and so I was really walking away impressed with Nick Brooks, thinking that he might be in line to carve out a role. I mean, you're looking for a second guard. You're looking for two guards. You're kind of wondering if William Sanders is going to be one of your guards. You're wondering if Ethan Fields is going to be one of your guards. I think you're wondering if Ty Haywood is going to be one of your guards. Also, Chris Booker. I think Chris Booker was pretty impressive today for a true freshman. It's just a couple of minutes, so it's hard to really say how impressive things are, but just a good start to practice for Chris Booker, I thought. But Nick Brooks, you got him in from Texas. He transferred in. Theo, I think that he is, off of just 10 minutes of an impression, I walk away thinking he could be one of these two guards.
There we go. That's an interesting name to keep in mind. Now, just a question on Chris Booker. He's listed under 300 pounds. How do he look size-wise, physicality? What do you see from him?
I think he looked like a really, really good athlete. He's sitting here listed at 6'4", 285, and he's a true freshman. I think that Chris Booker, you ideally put him on the Jackson Lloyd path where he is thought of in a really, really strong and high light, but doesn't really get a lot of action because needs a little bit more weight, needs a little bit more strength. But I think that he was moving out there. He was moving, and he was moving his counterpart out there. But and granted, it's still so early in the process, but I was impressed with true freshman Chris Booker as well.
That's good to know. And what about, I'm just going to ask the questions that I'm interested in because I'm sure people are too. What about Caden Strayhorn? Do you see him at center? Do you see him in a guard spot? Or
wearing 79 out there, I saw him. He was, in the back end of the reps. I mean, they get up and they take reps through the chute, and then they rep and pull through the chute. And then the last little portion of the drill, you can see all this on BamaCentral YouTube channel. The last little portion of the drill, they're taking on 3 rushers at a time, kind of in a little pattern. Adrian Clem's yelling out 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, and they're hitting the respective alignment. But Caden Strayhorn, I thought looked unfortunately undersized, and maybe it's because he's 6'2" compared to everybody else that's 6'5", 6'7", 6'6". You got a lot of big old dudes in that offensive line room. And I didn't think that Caden Strayhorn looked like one of them. Now, obviously, we're 20, 30 yards away, so we're not standing right next to the guys. But his arm length from where I was standing didn't didn't overwhelm me, I should say. Well, yeah, I'm sure it's adequate, but didn't overwhelm me. And so you say, where do I see him? I see him as a center for sure. I see him as a center. And like I was talking about yesterday, I think that he's one of those guys that you're hoping to develop over the course of the next year and change while Rayson Delgatti holds down the center position right now.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm interested in the Nick Brooks thing, though. I don't know. I don't know where my internal pecking order of those guys was entering, I guess, spring camp. But Brooks, I mean, he was a pretty solid recruit, right? I mean, he ended up at Texas, and you think there's some potential there?
For Nick Brooks to play at center or playing guard?
No, just he could be the starter on the left side,
Yeah, I do. I think that you could have a left side that is Rayson Delgatti center, Nick Brooks left guard, and then Jackson Lloyd left tackle, and then you can play around with whatever you really want on the right side, whether it be Javen James at tackle, Michael Carroll at tackle, whether it be William Sanders at guard, Michael Carroll at tackle. I walked away, and granted, it was just 10 minutes. We'll get more this Saturday at 8A. I walked away thinking, okay, Nick Brooks could be one of your best 5 guys out there right now.
That's really good to know. Have that coming in. I'm curious about the whole, and I think one of the biggest struggles we're going to have on 8A is going to be a lot of O linemen that we don't know a lot about, and a lot of D linemen that we don't know a lot about. So how do you evaluate? Oh wow, this guy made really moving, really making a big play, versus we don't know quite the baseline that the counterpart on the other side, whether offensively or defensively, like how well he's playing. So that's gonna be interesting, I think, to monitor.
Yeah, because I think your best case scenario is the offensive and defensive line each kind of winning here and there. Nobody really dominating, because if one side dominates, does that mean you have a good offensive line, or does that mean you have a really bad defensive line, or vice versa? Defensive line dominates. Is the defensive line full of killers and monsters, or is the offensive line just full of not bunch of whiffs, a bunch of misses in the transfer portal? We'll find out on Saturday. I think your best case scenario is to have both sides winning here and there. But so I think that right now I'm feeling like 11 days into spring practice, I'm thinking about I'm thinking about Michael Carroll, I'm thinking about Jackson Lloyd, Rayson Delgatti, and I'm putting Nick Brooks fourth from what I saw today on your offensive line, somewhere as far as your best 5 offensive line. Who that 5th guy is, I think, is still wide open for debate. I did like Chris Booker, but I don't really want to put him right there. I did like what we saw from Ty Haywood in those 8 minutes, but I don't really know if he qualifies for that. I kind of want to leave that spot open for William Sanders, but obviously he is out for the spring. Ethan Fields has had a little bit of time in the starting lineup this spring, so he's a guy that can maybe be that 5th offensive lineman. So a lot of guys can go in that 5th spot. We'll see how it develops going forward. Theo, the last thing for me from what I saw in practice viewing was the outside linebackers. The Wolves and Bandits were really just I saw you saw the Wolves. You saw Yanzi Pierre, Justin Hill, Jamarian Matthews, and Desmond Umeozulu. All those guys basically playing together, playing Wolf together, mixing up their stances. Pretty much Desmond in a 3 or 4 point stance the whole time. Same with Jamarian Matthews. But you had Yanzi Pierre mixing up his stance. And what really stood out to me in that it was the call for violence from Christian Robinson and his student assistant or GA type assistant. The GA was yelling at Jamarian Matthews to break the bleeping sled because we'll just buy a new one. But I found it pretty interesting to see Jamarian Matthews, to see Justin, just to see them all together. I think Desmond Umeozulu is going to be a really big part of this defense going forward in 2026. You got him from South Carolina, and he looked pretty violent. I think he is going to be a really interesting piece that plays both Wolf and Bandit this fall for Alabama.
The more violence, the better out of that group, right? I love to hear that they're playing with that kind of edge.
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of things coming out from Alabama practice, but I spent basically all my time with the offensive linemen and the short little stint that the Wolves came in front of us. You can see the BamaCentral YouTube channel. Katie watched basically quarterbacks and wide receivers, and Hunter DeCyber watched defensive backs. All 3 of those videos are right there on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. Theo, we had a scrimmage on Friday, and Theo, we had our man Dax leave us a voicemail. Let's go ahead and go to the voicemail line at 205-462-7340, extension 800. We will get Dax's voicemail on the Friday scrimmage while we stay on football.
What's up, guys? It's Dax. So we're 2 scrimmages in, 1 week away from A-Day. And this might end up being one of the hardest rosters that the media has ever tried to predict. Kevin Riley apparently looked far and away like RB1 on the second scrimmage, which is interesting. What I think happened with Kevin is he got a lot of playing time at the beginning of the year, and it kind of started to stave off when he really decided he wanted to put his head down and get to work, which I love Kevin Riley for that. Gaither apparently is still looking pretty good. Daniel Hill lost a lot of weight, and he's looking more shifty. DJ Crowell is always going to be there, even though he's very, very limited right now. In the quarterback race, still no separation, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but Austin Mack is a veteran guy. DeBoer has shown that he is going to go with the veteran guy, at least to his first 2 years. But Keelan Russell, keep hearing that the talent's too good to take off the field, but he did throw a pick 6 to freshman Jordan Edmonds, who was like 6'3". I think we have 3 corners on the team that are 6'3" or taller, which is insane. Defense is looking fantastic from what I've heard. The line looks better. I don't know anything about the linebacker play, but the DBs look fantastic. Ivan Taylor had an interception on Austin Mack. The wide receivers are looking good. Noah Rogers apparently is looking like a hit in the transfer portal. Marshall Pritchett caught a touchdown from Keelan, I think. One of the I don't remember, but I know Marshall Pritchett caught a touchdown. No, there's just too many unknowns, which I guess it's a good thing. It gives us more stuff to talk about in the off season. But Yeah, like I said earlier, this is probably going to be one of the hardest rosters we've ever had to predict because we don't know who's going to be running back. We don't know who's going to be quarterback. We pretty much know who's going to be on the defense, and we halfway know who's going to be on the O-line, especially since Will Sanders is still out. But, I'm enjoying how they're looking. I will be at A-Day, so y'all will definitely get my thoughts after that one too. And I'll be at the Arkansas game after that. I'm thinking a baseball game. So it's going to be a pretty good weekend next weekend. Anyway, that's all I got. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Dax, it is going to be difficult to predict because there is still so much that is up in the air, and even Noah Rodgers, I think, is a great example of this because Rodgers, if the season's starting today, that's your wide receiver 3. I think that's a statement I can pretty confidently make. And apparently, he's doing some nice things in camp, in the scrimmages, and we'll see what he does on A-Day. But you have that guy there, presumably starting. But then you have younger guys in Sedarian Morgan, in Derek Meadows, that are only going to try to gain ground on him as we get closer and closer to the season. So, that's one that's hard to predict. The line is obviously a complete labyrinth. We don't know where we stand. I agree with the general takeaway that if I were to fill out a depth chart right now for this team, there would be a lot that I would probably be incorrect on by the time the season hits.
Yeah, because you've got so much talent in the defensive back room. I mean, you obviously are starting with Zabian and Dijon Lee, and then from there you've got Keon Savant and Bray Hubbard. So those are your 4 really, really easy ones to mark down. But who's playing that 5th spot? Who's playing the Husky role? Is it going to be Red Morgan? Is it going to be Ivan Taylor? You're hearing a lot of great things about him. Is Zay Mincy going to be able to do that? What's going to be? Is it going to be Jira Edwards even? I think you've got so many directions you can go right there. I think the inside linebacker room, you've got Caleb Woodson, and then basically it's either Luke Metz or it's QB Reese or it's Caden Jones. I think you've got a lot of different options for that second inside linebacker guy. Wolf, we pretty much know it's Jan Pierre, and then you don't really know how it falls behind it, whether it be Justin Hill or Desmond Umeazulu. I think situationally is going to determine a lot of that. And defensive line, I think you really love what you're getting out of Devin Tompkins and Terrence Green. It's really going to be kind of what you do with that other spot, whether it be Edric Hill, whether it be Steve Bolabumwa. You've got a lot of different options that you can go, a lot of different directions you can go in. So I think defense, you've got a better idea, but offense just has so many question marks, starting with quarterback, moving to the offensive line, to the running back room. I think it's going to be pretty difficult to predict how this offense is going to look right here on April 7th. But Saturday's going to be interesting. Saturday's going to be fun. We were talking to Theo before we walked into the Malmore facility about Saturday being just so ripe for overreactions.
Yeah, and it will be. I mean, that we've had such limited access, right? We're making these assumptions based off of maybe a combined 25 minutes over 2 days that we've gotten to see these guys actually practice. And there were crazy overreactions to the first bunch of clips. There will be more today. You give us 2 hours of that content and, it's exponentially more to go off of.
Yeah, so we'll see how Saturday comes. I want to ask you, Theo, about this while we're on the football stuff before we turn to Aiden Sherrill entering the transfer portal. A-Day. It's going back to the format it was 2 seasons ago. Do you remember it? 2 seasons ago, they did offense versus defense. Defense scored points for various, pass deflection, 3 and out, sack, tackle for loss. They scored various points for various attributes, statistics. And then the offense scored in traditional fashion. I think they got points for maybe first downs, but they also got points, obviously, for touchdowns, point and field goals and such. And I'm hearing people upset that it's not a traditional game. It's still not enough. You give the people back a competition and a scoreboard, it's still not enough. DeBoer didn't want to divide them into teams, is what he said. And, when you think about it, not emotionally, when you take the emotion out of it, I think you can get more reps when you're doing it offense versus defense. You can control, how many reps that the starting quarterback gets versus. I think you have more control and have more opportunity to get more reps. But there are people upset. Do you think that is a valid criticism of the 8A format, or do you think that those people should just shove it and show up at Bryant-Denny Stadium and enjoy some football?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's valid, right? Like, people are showing up for entertainment, and the entertainment would objectively be better under a traditional, scrimmage format. But no, like, at the end of the day, you have a limited window of how often you can practice for the spring. And as much as, yes, it is a showcase, it's a chance for the fans to see, at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for the team, right? And doing what's right for the team, it goes beyond, number one, you have the aspect of, well, we want to make sure we're setting up a good competition for everyone. But you also, let's be honest, a part of it comes down to, you don't want to see the same guys get killed for 2 hours, right? You don't want to create a situation where any given player, is, oh man, this guy's getting torched for 2 hours. It's on full display. And what does that do for the perception of him, even his confidence, right? With people who start saying other stuff. So no, I think it's valid on both ends. If I'm a fan and I'm there at the game, I want to see entertainment, right? And let's be honest, it's not like 2 years ago. It's not like that was the most entertaining thing we've ever sat down and watched. But at the end of the day, I don't think it'll stop people from showing up, right? I think you want to see these guys in action for the spring. So it's not like the team is losing out on anything by not doing a real scrimmage.
No, I think that it's a step in the right direction from last year for sure. But the only complaint really for me is that it makes it hard to keep up with the score. That's all. But whether it be offense versus defense, look, that's great. Give me live football. Throw the offense versus the defense out there. I can create enough takeaways and see enough if it's just reps after reps after reps. I don't necessarily need it to be crimson versus white, splitting us up. And can the backup quarterback bring Team Crimson back, while they're going up against the second team defense, and we got to contextualize it. Does the backup quarterback throw 5 touchdowns against backups? Versus the starter who played poorly against starting defense. All that context stuff gets thrown out the window, and we just get to kind of watch how these players perform against each other, offense versus defense. I think it's a step in the right direction, but I do understand the complaint that it's hard to keep up with the score.
It's not the most fan-friendly event.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, I think anything for free inside Bryant-Denny is pretty fan-friendly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Thinking about it back to last year, it's a lot more fan-friendly. It will not be on TV, so you'll have to come to Bryant-Denny Stadium, come find Dax and say hello. Come find us and say hello as well.
We're going to be out in the open air, right?
I think we will be. I think we'll be. I think the press box is undergoing some renovations, and therefore we will be seated in some section somewhere in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and that'll be great. We'll enjoy it. I'll have my binoculars out there watching everything, getting ready to go. Theo, one more topic for us on the day, but first we got to tell everybody about Purple Turtle Roofing. At Purple Turtle Roofing, we're not just another contractor, we're your neighbor and your advocate when it comes to protecting your home or business. With years of hands-on experience, top-tier certification, and a commitment to excellence, we've built a reputation as Alabama's go-to roofing solution. We specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacements, insurance claim support, and more. Visit us online today at roofturtle.com for all of your roofing needs. You can call us and schedule a free roof inspection by calling 877-787-6635 today. They'll come out and check out your roof, whether it be a metal roof or a shingle roof. They'll come out and give you the peace of mind that you deserve. Okay, Theo, I am in the Coleman Coliseum media room, and a lot happened yesterday as the transfer portal opened today. We already talked a little bit about Taylor Bobo and entering the transfer portal as that happened to open our show yesterday. That was right as we started our show yesterday. Well, at the middle of the day, towards the back part of the day, Alabama had another basketball player into the transfer portal, and this one probably this one leaves a huge hole for in the Crimson Tide roster as Aiden Sherrill, sophomore, well now junior forward Aiden Sherrill is entering the transfer portal. We remember him 4.5, 5-star recruit out of Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, I believe. Went to one of those basketball academies. I think it was. Which one of those basketball academies? I can't remember exactly which one it was, but was here as a freshman, took a big step forward this year as a sophomore. I think the back part of his season was really, really, really good, and I think that he is in line to make himself a lot of money in the transfer portal. We'll see if Alabama can keep him. Alabama certainly, I think, will try to keep him. And so just kind of, Theo, what were your reactions to Aiden Sherrill going in the portal? What are your thoughts on should Alabama try to keep him? Your thoughts on his growth this past season and kind of what his market may be?
I'm very, very, very on the fence here. This is probably the least decisive I've been over anything that happened within the program in a while, right? When you look at this decision that Sherrill made, because on one side, I think that Sherrill is a big-time basketball player. I think that he did some phenomenal things for this team this season, and I absolutely believe that he is primed to take the jump to being a legit star. I think we're looking at a top 3 or 4 center in the SEC next year. So that's the kind of player that, in theory, yes, you go all out. You pay a ton of money to keep that guy wearing crimson. On the flip side, when you have such a limited budget, right, and you have a smaller budget than other programs trying to compete at the national level, the Moneyball approach makes a lot of sense for basketball. And it's like, if you can find a player who is going to replicate most of what Sherrill can do for a fraction of the cost, you can't be upset about that. So I think the biggest thing here is you have to be really, really, really particular about who is worth paying a premium for. For example, Aiden Holloway is a guy that you won't be paying a premium for now because of, the situation, obviously, but he's a guy where if it didn't happen, it's like, yes, you pay what it takes to keep Aiden Holloway. There's a player who's tailored for your system, clearly wants to be there, and is a player that is very hard to replace. How difficult is Sherrill to replace? I don't know, and that's why I'm throwing out the two differing opinions, because I don't really know I don't know if you can find a guy like him. I don't know if you can afford him, and I don't know what you lose by Sherrill's departure.
Aiden Sherrill was 11 points, 6 rebounds per game this year with 1 assist thrown in there. Where is my – let's see. That's what I want, overview. Shooting the ball this season, 33% from the three-point line. He made basically double his three-pointers from last season. He made 14 as a freshman, 27 as a sophomore on the same percentage. So I think that personally, I think that he's very difficult to replace. I think I think it's very difficult to replace someone who gives you that kind of length, who gives you what he did this season from the free throw line, much better. Ended up this year 71% from the free throw line, 46 as a freshman. Gave you 100 more rebounds, 102 as a freshman, 210 this year as a sophomore. I think he took a huge step forward, and I would expect him as a junior to do the same. So, yeah, I think it is a pretty big hole in Alabama's roster. And you say, can you find a guy that gives you what he can give you for less money? I would say unlikely is how I feel. Now, can you? I guess you could. Anything is possible. But my gut feeling says pretty unlikely. So we'll see if Alabama can keep him. Alabama has been okay when they've wanted to keep a player out of the transfer portal. They've done an okay job under Coach Oates, so we'll see if they can retain him over these next handful of days. I guess it's April the 15th, right? The 7th to the 15th is the portal date. So we'll see where he ends up landing. My gut feeling right now is to not be surprised if Aiden Sherrill is playing for one of the two big brands in Michigan, whether it be Michigan State or the now defending national champions, Michigan Wolverines. Congratulations to Michigan, by the way. Pretty nice little win last night. Just dragging it out slowly but surely, getting to a double-digit lead and winning that national championship. Theo, any other thoughts on Sherrill before I get over back to the Malmore facility and talk to some Alabama football players?
No, I stand pretty close to where you are, and you can't fault Sherrill at all for this decision to enter. I mean, just the numbers that these bigs are reportedly being offered. It's unreal. It is absurd. It is like you are hearing $4 million offers to guys that most basketball fans probably haven't heard of. I'm sorry, but it is a ridiculous market, and I think that we will see a crazy portal period where some guys get the money and a lot of guys fall way short of what they thought they were getting. So I could see this being just a fascinating, situation, and maybe Alabama lands somebody who, well, I thought I was getting $4 million and now I'm getting a fraction of that, and sure, I'll go play for NATO. So I think it could end up working out, but I don't know, maybe all these schools just pay absurd numbers for their bigs, and it'll be fascinating to follow.
Yes, it will. We'll follow it right here at BamaCentral.com. We're going to get out of here for the day. We'll have Katie Wyndham join us tomorrow. Katie will talk about spring practice. She'll talk about Alabama softball. She'll wrap up Alabama gymnastics season. We'll do all kinds of things. Everett Osmer has a voicemail for Katie asking her about the Alabama women's basketball coach. So all kinds of stuff to get into tomorrow with Katie Wyndham. We've had a lot of fun with everybody today. We hope you all have a great day. Enjoy yourselves. We'll be back tomorrow on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com.